time is it? Game design time. What time is it? Never a late time. What time is it? Say his name time. It's Todd time, Todd time.
Hey everyone, it's me, Ninja Wiener, and today I'm back, and once again, my weenies, we will be talking about Starfield. Now, a couple of months ago, I made a video where I discussed the things that Starfield needed to succeed in my eyes. That was before the gameplay trailer. Now, after several months since the release of the gameplay, and a delay, I'll now be talking about why Starfield is headed in exactly the right direction. So let's begin. I think we should start with the small thing first. Now, even though this thing is very small, it's going to make a very big difference to the overall quality of Starfield. I am, of course, talking about the player character being silent. Oh my god, yes. Perhaps the biggest problem with Fallout 4 was the fact that our character didn't feel like our character, thanks to them being voiced. Don't get me wrong, I think that the voice actors did an outstanding job with what they were given, but for a role-playing game, it really doesn't allow you to have the freedom of playing as yourself or letting your character have whatever type of personality that you wanted. It was very restrictive. With Starfield, they're not doing that. No sir, your character is silent. That means you're free to roleplay with your character to your heart's content. Maybe you want to play as a totally unhinged character who sounds very psychopathic in the way they speak. You can do that in Starfield. I'm so glad that our character isn't voiced. Who knew such a small thing could get someone so hyped?
That's what she said!
With a silent character comes a plethora of dialogue choices. Let's talk about the dialogue system for a bit. The game has about 200,000 lines of dialogue, so you could just imagine the amount of dialogue choices that are available to us. Sometimes you want to get information out of someone or influence them to do something for you. Well, in a little game called The Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion, there was a persuasion system. This is back in Starfield. The way it works is that when you initiate dialogue with an NPC, you could coerce, admire, boast, or joke with them. This is how you would raise or lower an NPC's disposition, and it's different for different people. Once their disposition was high enough, you could persuade the NPC to do something for you. But if you couldn't persuade someone this way, you could always bribe them. So, in Starfield, if you want an NPC to give you information or you want them to do something for you, you can either convince them through normal dialogue choices or through the persuasion minigame, or just straight up bribe them. The amount of choice here is great. But we're not done talking about the dialogue system. Oh no. We still have to talk about traits and backgrounds. Let's start with traits. So the way traits work is that when you pick one, you'll have an advantage in how your character plays. Let's look at a trait from Starfield. The trait Spaced allows you to have more health and endurance while in space, but they would be lower when you're on ground. One unique advantage and disadvantage. A really good role-playing mechanic, and it's always great to have more options in character creation. Now let's talk about backgrounds. Backgrounds are basically like classes from Morrowind and Oblivion. In an RPG, you want your character to have a background which is reflected in the way you play the game. When you pick a class, you're allowed to choose major skills. As you continue to use and level up your major skills, your character would level up as well. Starfield is the same. You have a number of classes to choose from. Each one gives you 3 starting skills. For example, with the Cyberrunner class, your starting skills would be Pistol Certification, Security, and Persuasion. Not only that, but your class also gives you different dialogue options, and NPCs will also give remarks about you depending on your class.
Says here you spent some time as a diplomat. Having a way with words might prove useful.
In that video, the NPC talks about the class named Diplomat that was chosen by the player. And that wasn't something that only shows up at the beginning of the game, right after you create your character or something like that. It's definitely from a while into the game because you don't start the game with the United Colonies. You start with Argo's extractors as a miner. So again, your class plays a substantial role in dialogue. The other thing that I'm really happy about in Starfield is the level of depth in customization, more specifically the level of customization in spaceships and armor. You can customize your spaceship however you desire, and it's not just about how the ship looks. There's a number of different manufacturers that provide different parts for your spaceship. The quality of the parts you use affects the different attributes of your ship, such as the engine and its speed, cargo and how much you can carry, the amount of crew members that can be on board, shields and how much damage you can take, warp drive, and how far you can jump in space, gravity, and weight, among many other things. Your character has stats, and your spaceship has stats. I also hope they bring back a layered armor system from Fallout 4. I love that so much. Settlement building is back, better than ever. It guarantees that Starfield is gonna take my entire social life away. We're talking about hundreds of hours just spent on crafting and managing different settlements. But you know what? That makes me happy. I'm over the moon that it's back. There's also hints here and there that a faction reputation system might be back too. You know, it was in Fallout 76, so I imagine it will be carried over to Starfield now. It's amazing to see that as an RPG, Starfield is making all the right decisions. Of course, there are things that concern me, like there being 100 systems and over 1,000 planets to explore, but that's just how space is. A lot of planets are going to be just for resource generation, and a lot of them will be there for establishing settlements. And also, it's important to remember that Starfield is going to have the most handcrafted content than any other BGS game. 200,000 lines of dialogue and a 35 to 40 hour long main quest. I mean, they've been working on this since right after Fallout 4, so a much bigger and deeper game is to be expected. I'm just really happy with everything that's been shown so far, from the concept art to the gameplay, and even the little things like the Oblivion zoom when you're talking to someone. It's great stuff. I've been waiting for over 4 years, you know, it's almost half a decade, which is crazy to imagine. I just can't wait to finally get my hands on this game next year. It's gonna be amazing. And that's all I had to say. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. And please let me know down in the comments below what's got you stoked about Starfield. I love to read your comments. So, thank you again, and until next time, take care. Ninja Wiener out.
What the